This is the BULLS E-Stream EVO 3 Plus FS, okay? And I've actually reviewed the older E-Stream EVO. It was a lot like this. Not a whole lot has changed except for those tires. And these ones are actually 27.5 by 2.8, and you get less deflection, like when you're going over rocks. You get more surface contact, which means better grip. So if you're carrying a heavier bike like this, you know, it's like 54 pounds. It's not super light, but you want to keep that traction. You don't want to be spinning out and stuff. It's awesome to have a little bit of a tire that, you know, gives you some of that, and it gives you some cushion in addition to these nice suspension elements here. So we've got a RockShox Monarch in the back, and then we've got a Yari up front with the adjustments. This is air, keeps things light, high quality stuff. The bike's $48.99, so you're spending a little bit more money on it. You're approaching that $5,000 mark, but you're getting all of the comfort that I prefer when I'm mountain biking, especially when you're going a little bit further. And that's the thing about electric bikes. In this case, you've got a 37 volt, 17.5 amp hour battery. That's enormous capacity. That just means you're going to go further and further. And when you combine that with a mid-drive that leverages your cassette, when you're climbing, you don't have to overwork the motor. You shift down to an easier gear and it benefits. When you're going faster, you shift up and it benefits. It's not a hub motor. The other thing about a hub motor is that it's this unsprung weight. So every time the suspension's going up and down, you're carrying that weight. So low, center, this is the right way to do it. The Bro system is known for being just really compact, like you see here, nicely integrated batteries, and relatively quiet. So it's a geared motor design, but there's also a belt in there and it sort of like dampens some of the vibration. I think it also makes it quieter. You can hear it at higher RPMs, but at lower RPMs, it's one of the quietest systems out there. It's also one of the most fluid because it uses a torque sensor and a cadence sensor. So, you know, there are times with other bikes, I'm thinking like Easy Motion, where I've had my, and by the way, I'm talking about the older Easy Motions that uses the TMM4 torque sensor, like the Neo and the Evo lines. Those ones, when you push on that pedal, it senses torque and it's like, okay, let's go. And it's like, oh, I'm not ready. The other side of that is cadence sensors, where it's like you have to pedal a whole pedal stroke before it even registers, little magnets and stuff. By combining them and adjusting it just right, this bike can take off pretty quickly, but it's like it doesn't do it when you don't want it to do it. It doesn't overreact like some of the torque sensors in the past. I love that. One thing it doesn't have is shift sensing, and it's a little bit disappointing because, you know, you've got 11-speed cassette in the rear, you've got 2 rings up front. That's the other thing about the Bros system right now. You can get a couple of chain rings and you can add those extra gears for great cross-country riding. But when you're shifting gears, if you're not careful, it's you pushing and the motor, and that can just strain the chain and it can mash the gears back here, and you want to be careful. But thankfully, this has got really good drivetrain components, Dior XT up front and in the rear. Trigger shifters up here like you'd want on a mountain bike. And look at this cockpit. It's just incredibly clean. There's not a lot going on. There's not a huge display panel that's going to get broken or distract you. It's just this tiny little thing over here. So I really like that. Other things I want to call out, we got Ergon locking grips, so they're not skimping on that. They're not going to twist. They lock. You've got a decent saddle here. This is Selle Royale M1. And then coming back to maybe some of the braking power, I believe this is going to have Magura on it, but for the time being, it's got Shimano, and they're still pretty solid. 180 millimeter hydraulic. You want that kind of stopping power. And then of course you've got a 12 millimeter through axle in the rear, 15 up front with quick release. So if you're someone who doesn't have a bike rack, or you're worried about getting your expensive bike stolen or something, you can put it in your car pretty easily. You take the wheels off, turn the handlebars sideways, and you're set. And you ride to the trail and pop those wheels on. The other cool thing about the hubs on this is that they're a little bit longer. It uses boost technology. So you get, I believe it's 10 millimeters up front and 6 millimeters in the back, a little bit wider, and it just positions those spokes further out and it creates a little bit more strength. So everything here, the through axle, the boost technology, the bigger tires, like it's a great combination. You know, I've been spending some time with like the Specialized Turbo Levo model, very similar. It's got the bigger tires. It also uses the Bros system. And I think a lot of companies are kind of moving in that direction. One thing I like that they've done here is added, they've got these kind of screw holes for adding a bottle cage if you wanted to. You know, you get thirsty out there and it's nice to be able to include that. The suspension is vertical versus horizontal, so they were able to fit all that in there. I mean, you get it. You can kind of see what's going on, but I wanted to give you a close-up look. This is a really sweet bike, and it comes in like 5 different sizes, which is just fantastic because you want to have a good fit and really feel like the bike is working with you. Okay, the other thing about it is you can charge the battery on or off the bike, and I love that. You can pull up this little plastic piece right here, and there's the Energy Bus charging standard. It's magnetic. The cells in the battery are BMZ. The charger's BMZ, and it's like 2.5 pounds, a little bit heavier, you know, a little bit bulkier, but again, the battery's huge, so you shouldn't have to charge as frequently. Okay, so coming back over here, by the way, you're getting like a tour guide in the background, learning about this area. Down here we've got a keyhole, but it's kind of right in the path of that pedal crank, unfortunately. So when you're riding, you know, if you forget, you leave the keys in there, maybe you took the battery out to charge and you're walking this over to your dresser or something, you can shear that off. You don't want to do that. Just be very extra careful if you take the battery off. And of course, you are going to reduce the weight of the bike by about 7 pounds if you take it off, which is great for transporting on racks and stuff. Just be careful. You don't want to, that's hopefully in the future they move the keyhole somewhere else. So here's the battery. You can see there's this like kind of a foam pad under it and on the motor. So that's nice. It just keeps the rocks and stuff from chipping up the frame. I really like that. And yeah, I think the other thing to point out is just that lever over there. That's what you pull on to get the battery off. It's pretty cool. I've actually taken it off on some other models. I just don't have the keys for this one right now. Okay, so steps to turn it on. Unfortunately, it's kind of like a two-step process. If you're just putting the battery on, you need to press power here, and then you press power up here again. Okay, so you can see that this transflective like toggle button thing comes to life. Again, I love how minimal it is. It's not super protected up here if you did crash, but it's, you know, it's better than like a huge display. It's not removable, but it does have a micro USB charging port. So if you're using Strava or you're, you know, using GPS or something, you can totally power that. And I just love that, being able to tap into that huge battery pack. Okay, so looking at this, we've got an up arrow and a down arrow. That's as simple as it gets. You can kind of reach it. It's a little bit out of the way, but it clicks, and there are 3 levels of assist. There's like low, medium, and high. We've got speed right there in miles per hour, and then we've got battery level. So we've got 5 ticks. That's 20% increments for each one, and that's decent. It'd be nice to have percentage. You really don't get much else on this display, but it's kind of all you really need, you know, speed and like how far is the battery going to go. It'd be nice if you had battery percentage or something, because 20%, you know, that as these get lower and lower and you get closer to completely draining it, it can be a little bit, I don't know, it just, like at the very end it starts to like really lose power because they don't want to completely drain the battery. The best way to care for these batteries, by the way, is to kind of charge it up after each ride and just check it out. Like make sure that you're storing it in a dry, relatively cool location. If you go extremely hot or extremely cold, the cold really kind of like shortens your battery life. So I love that the batteries are movable. Not everyone has like a ton of room to bring their entire dirty bike inside, so taking the battery off is a really nice option. I think I've kind of hit most of the points here. It's a sweet bike. Like, just again, I love the sizes. The price is decent for a full suspension electric with that big battery. I think it might be time to just hop on this thing. And when I do, you know, listen for that motor a little bit. Notice how smooth it is. I'm going to be climbing this hill. It's a serious hill. Like if you look across here, we've been riding around. This is, you know, it's steep and there's rocks. And you work with those gears, you shift, you know, smoothly, and it can do a great job. The thing about this setup is that it's 20 mile per hour top speed, so this is a class 1 pedal assist. It's the most legal. Again, it blends in a lot, so maybe no one really notices. But Bulls also has this other model over here. This is the E-Stream EVO 45 FS. This thing is a full suspension speed pedelec, okay? And it's like, it uses a lot of the similar parts and stuff, some upgrades. But if you're someone who really wants that power, and maybe you live close to fire roads or off-highway vehicle or private property, that can be pretty awesome, and for commuting because it's got the lights and stuff. But for people who just want to go mountain biking and might want a little extra assist to go further or climb easier, this is still a really, really good option. Okay guys, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I got my helmet cam on. I'm going to go like out there. There we go. We got stabilization happening. I'm just going to ride down and get an awesome view by those trees hopefully, and then we'll ride back up and just see what it's like. So we'll hop on the E-Stream here. No kickstand on this one. And have some fun. I'm at the highest level of assist because why not? There we go. Okay, we got some crowds going on here. Nice and easy. Thanks, man. Wow. Pretty fantastic, huh? I think this goes all the way to the ocean. Of course, going down is fun. Let's do a little bit of uphill. Brakes are doing well. Okay. Climb in. I'm feeling it. I'm having to work a little bit. I shifted down. I feel my speed slowing. I'm down to 10 miles per hour. It's one of the differences. The Bros system's a little smoother, a little more gentle. I don't feel the same like oomph that I get from the Bosch system, but it's also a lot quieter, and potentially maybe it's sipping the battery a little bit slower. Wow, so I'm near Palos Verdes, California, and it's just spectacular. Like, back this way is a LA wasteland behind all that, and this is just like the wonderful, how beautiful the fog rolls in. So much fun surfing down there. Okay, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Okay, I'm gonna shift down. I've got lots of low gears that I could be using. Right now I'm in the bigger ring up front. I think I'm gonna shifting down. Okay, now I'm really in climbing mode. Maybe you can hear the motor. Really getting like ring, 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 ring. A little bit of noise. It's not completely silent. Now we're gonna go all the way back up there, way up to the top of that. Let's do it. $17, 18 miles per hour. I'm climbing right now. It's pretty sweet. And you know what? Whoever had this before me, seat post is like really low. And that bothers me, kind of hurt your knees. It's part of the reason I ride e-bikes, my knees are sensitive. Make sure that that's high enough. This might be too high now. Oh, that's good. Be nice to put like a seat post dropper on this maybe. Some upgrades. Okay. Bulls has a 2-year comprehensive like electronics warranty. Maybe it's 1,000 cycles on the battery. And then a 5-year frame warranty. And they're getting in more and more stores. Pretty popular in Europe. Sweet. Spinning pretty fast. I'm getting a lot of help from the drive system, of course. Really don't have to stand up, which helps a lot. Pretty steep climb here. There's where we were. A little bit of mashing there with that gear change. Still up around 14, 15. Oh. Pretty responsive. You can see that chainring stop. Okay. Almost made it. Almost up. We were literally just down there. Woo! Awesome. Tons of fun. Okay guys, that was tons of fun. I really appreciate you hanging out through all the tour groups and all the stuff going on. We're in a public area here, but it's just such a beautiful day, and with the view in the background, this is the perfect place to go riding. Love this bike, had a lot of fun. It's the E-Stream EVO 3 Plus FS. For the full written review, including standover height and some other specs, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. And of course, you know, you're out there on the trail, be respectful and ride safe.